Hello, my name is Katie. I like all things reading, writing, and spooky, and I want to tell you a little bit about what it was like selling books at a craft and vendor show recently. I am completely in love with all of the blind date with a book little packages I see in bookstores and on TikTok. I've bought a couple in the past that I really enjoyed, and I was like, you know what, I gotta do this. I can do this, you know? I've also helped run a craft show behind the scenes. This was my 5th year doing it, and so I already knew how all that worked, so I felt more comfortable. Anyway, I want to start off by saying, like, where did I get all these books? How many books did I want to get? What genres? Let me break it down. So I wanted to have adult, teen, and kids chapter books, particularly middle grade. So I had a lot of books already kind of sitting around that I had either read and I was like, I didn't like this, but I think it's still worthwhile for someone else to have, because I have definitely read ones where I'm like, this? No, nobody needs to read this. Just going straight to the open book library. If anyone wants it, they can have it, but I'm not like gonna make people pay for this kind of thing. So I also had a bunch of books that I really enjoyed, but I think they would do more good in the hands of other people. Particularly, I had a bunch of kids' books left over from my classes in college when I took children's literature. I kept them because I really liked them, but honestly, I think they do better to actually like teach a kid or just be a fun time for a kid, find something they like to read. I also had a couple family members and a coworker give me some books that they no longer wanted, but they thought would be a good fit for what I was trying to do. I also visited my local used bookstore. They just opened this year, and I've been loving going there. They're super nice, and they get a really good selection too. I also went to a couple of like really big used book sales that were happening near me, one at my library and one at like a big like arena type place that was like a bunch of stores, libraries, all donated to the same place, and they were selling all of them like a whole weekend. And let me tell you, I got so many books. I loved going to sales like that as a kid because, like, honestly, we would get books. You could get like a ton of books for like $10 because they'd all be like 50 cents or $1, and it was way more manageable than trying to, pay full price. And there's nothing wrong with used books. But I ended up with 45 books total, which was what my goal was. I wanted to have like 15 adult, 15 teen, and 15 kids. I do have some left over. I did not sell them all, but I ended up selling 25 out of the 45 books, and I'm really happy with that number. I was going to be like, if I sell any, I'll be excited, but I'm really excited that I sold over half of them. So my tips just for like setting up would be definitely bring a good sized table that you can easily pop up, a tent, and a tablecloth. Just makes your setup look a little nicer. And I had enough stuff on mine that it wasn't like blowing away or anything. I also got like a really heavy fabric one that I got for free from a random thing. As far as putting together the blind date with a book packages, before you wrap anything, I seriously recommend making a list of all the books you have. I separated them by age category, so I had in a notebook listed out like 1 through 15 adults, 1 through 15 teen, and 1 through 15 kids. And then I stacked all my books in that order in each category. And then after I finished wrapping that one, I would write the number and the genre, because I didn't want to put like the title on there, because that's the whole thing, is that it's a surprise of what book you get. But I did want people to get sort of an idea of like just a little bit of a clue. Because I did buy a blind date with a book package with my sister one time at like a craft show like this, and they were not separated by audience, age, or genre. So I ended up with a YA thriller, which love, I'll read that for sure. But then my teenage sister ended up with like a historical adult thing that just honestly didn't sound that interesting to either one of us. So that was one thing that I knew. I was like, I'm going to separate it by age and definitely have the genre. And then when it came to the day of, I brought my list with me, and I was like, just in case anybody asks about like the books, I can be like, oh, it's a little bit like this, you know. And that honestly came in handy, having that list, because I had a couple of adults kind of asking about the content of the book that their kid was kind of like, oh, I want to pick this one, like it's got cute stickers and stuff. And I also had a mom ask if she could look at the list because she just wanted to make sure they didn't have the book already. Totally fine with that. Like, you do you. I get it. You don't want to get something that the kid already has. And content-wise, I mean, I made sure that all of them were kind of age appropriate, but I respect a parent's decision to pick what they want for their kid. It's when people want to decide what's okay for everybody to read or not to read. That's what I don't like. And I did have some spicy adult romance, but I made sure to wrap all of those in a specific wrapping paper color that I was like, okay, I know all of these ones are the spicy romance. And I could kind of base off of that. And I did have a full set of a standalone spicy romance series that I had seen blow up on TikTok. And I sold the whole thing. That was my most expensive item because it was 4 books, and I like wrapped them all, and I stuck extra little goodies in it since the person was buying like more than one book. I also had a lot of fun crocheting some items to sell. I made a bunch of little bookmarks. I actually learned how to crochet with embroidery thread to be able to do this because I had yarn that, here, I even have it right here. I had yarn that was like this thick. It says that it's like the size is like 4, but in person it like actually looks a lot thinner than like just the standard. So I thought this would be okay. I had used this when I was trying to make like bookmarks just for me and like presents for my family, and it made me so mad because they turned out really cute, but the yarn itself was really thick when you try to close the book. Like it wouldn't lie flat as I wanted to. So I ended up making a ton out of embroidery floss. I even got I bought one of the tiniest crochet hooks I've ever seen. I bought a lot of stuff for this while Joann's was going out of sale, so it was like, I love that place. But, you know, so I ended up with a bunch of crochet bookmarks and these book covers I made. I have one that I made for me that I wasn't going to sell that I can show you. I actually got this yarn just from Walmart for like $2, and I liked it because it was the lesbian flag colors. And you just kind of flip it open. You can close it with that button. I got these really cute heart buttons at Joann's. And then I'll see this book, The Honeys. Just finished reading this last month. So you can just kind of put it in there, close it, and this cover's a bit big for this book since it's a paperback, and this is a bigger size one I made for hardbacks, but you get the idea. And then you can pin it, and then your books don't get gross in your bag when you're taking them places, and they're cute to like just pull out. And one of my coworkers hooked me up with a website that she gets wholesale stuff because she has done a bunch of vendor things like this before. So I did have a few things of that. Those didn't really sell as well as my book packages. So I don't know if I would get that again, if I do this kind of like booth again, but I'm gonna keep what didn't sell because I really like it. So it wasn't too much of a loss. So I had 2 goals going into this. I wanted to firstly practice talking to people about books in person. I want to go to book events eventually when I publish my stuff. I want to sign up for those as an author. This was a way to practice something like that was a lot lower stakes, where I'm like, I don't have to talk about my book, but I can talk about a bunch of books I read and liked and I want to sell to people. Be like, hey, you should read this. And honestly, it was so much fun. talking to people about the books was my favorite thing, and like seeing their reactions to be like, what genres do you have? And seeing their reactions when they would ask more about a book and I'd be like, well, actually, it's kind of like this. I felt like I was really able to like pair some good books with the right people. I talked to a couple teachers and somebody who actually like works at a bookstore, and they were like just telling me how much they really liked my setup and the books and how I decorated them, which was cute. Though with like an adult looking for books was with this grandma who was looking for books for her 2 grandkids. I told her a little bit about each book I thought that her grandkids would both like, and she was really excited to get them, and I was really excited to give them to her too. And then as far as the teen books go, honestly, there was like adults and teens looking in both the adult and the teen section, which I do that too, and I expected that from people as well. I just kind of wanted to separate it in case people were looking more specifically. Like, I don't want to give a teen an adult book if they aren't interested in that yet. You know what I mean? There was this one group of teenage girls that were fun to talk to because they all wanted to like pick out books for each other, and I was surprised by how much they bought in a good way. But I think I was like their last stop at the fair because they were like, we can't buy anymore. And then there was a bunch of really, really cute interactions with kids. There was a little girl who like was like this on the table and looking around at the stuff, and there was another little kid with her, and they were just like staring at everything. And they had a lot of like cutesy colors too, and she was like, wow, you really like books. I was like, yeah, I do. It was just really cute. There was like some kids who were like going around with their parents, like making one round, just okay, this is the window shopping, and then we'll come back and see what you really want kind of thing. And I was really excited because a bunch of the kids that came by with like family that did that, they came back again and ended up buying books. I was able to give a couple kids books that I was like, hey, if you really like this one, it's a series, so there's more. If you like this one, you can like keep going with it. And one mom was like really excited to hear about that because she was like, he loves reading. But yeah, I really liked talking to everyone about the books. There were definitely some people who didn't know what it was, and that was kind of funny. This one lady asked me if there was actually a book in there or if that was just like a pretty thing to put on your shelf, and I was like, no, it's a real book. Like, there's a book in there for you to read. Like, I don't get it. My second goal for doing this whole thing was I wanted to make some money to set aside for getting my book that I'm currently working on professionally edited. I could just get someone on Fiverr for $50, but I am intending to self-publish, so I want somebody who is going to be an editor at like a higher quality than that with a little bit more guarantee. So that was kind of my goal, was just a little bit of like, hey, I got a lot of these books, let me give them to other people. Hey, maybe I can make some money with that. But also, hey, let me see if I can make some money to put towards editing, because yeah, trying to budget out author stuff in this economy is hard. Honestly, I was like, if I sell anything, I'll be excited because this is my first time. I've never done this before. If I sell a book, I'll be excited kind of thing. I had my secret goal of what I ideally want to spend on editing, that I was like, if I could make that in this one like craft show, that would be amazing. But I honestly had very little expectation of doing that because, like I said, it's my first time. I don't know how this is going to go. And I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to find other readers in the wild. But surprise, I actually was able to make enough money. So yeah, all in all, I would definitely do a craft show like that again. I had a lot of fun selling the books in particular. They were definitely the biggest hit. I did sell some of my crochet stuff too, which was exciting because I've given like crochet things to like my friends and family as presents, but I've never like been like, hey, this is good enough quality for someone to buy. Like, I've never considered that before. So it was like just kind of cool to see that people liked that too. And it was really nice in another way that I sold more than half my books because then things were a lot lighter to carry home and like pack up the car. So there's that. And as far as the books I have left go, I guess like people weren't really feeling historical fiction that day for whatever particular reason. So the books I have left are mostly historical fiction and horror. I was a little disappointed not as many people wanted to buy the horror books, but I think if I could do a booth like this and have it closer to Halloween, I might get some more people getting those. Like if people are like more people are in the spooky mood. I know not everybody like lives spooky season year round like I do, so I get it, whatever, but I had some good horror books, guys. Like, I mean, that's my favorite genre, so I'm definitely biased, but I had some good ones. I think if I do this again for the historical fiction, I would probably also write on the back of it, like, just the era, like the time period. It was a lot of work, like wrapping, and I learned how to wrap a book so there's little flaps that you can tuck stuff in. I'd never done that before. But honestly, like having like this blind date with a book booth wasn't too difficult. And I think having the stuff that I crocheted alongside it definitely was like a plus. So there was a little bit, even if you didn't want to chance it with getting the book, there was some other options. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions about having a blind date with a book kind of thing that you want to sell, let me know. I'll be happy to answer them. It was really fun, and I do have some left over that I need to figure out what I want to do with. I might save them and do something similar next year, but yeah, for now, they're just sitting in my little living room, so we'll see what happens.